Well, hey there, folks. Good afternoon, all. John Duffin here with Duffin Media and Duffin Coaching. And look, folks, as we tell everyone here, what I get to do is optimize your communications by leveraging your voice. And I promise you, I'll explain exactly what that means. And today, since you are all cool enough to join me, thank you for making the time for me. I am really, really grateful. But what we'll get to do today is this. I'm going to create, I've got a series of a 5-day blitz, right? So each day, Monday through Friday, I want to take on a different business topic. I wanted to bring the art of optimizing your communications and take it to work, so to speak. So each day we're going to cover a quick topic, and I'm going to provide 3 different situations and 3 different tips that will help you improve your results, keep your footing, hopefully elevate and improve your results. A couple of life stories that I've experienced along the way. And if you stick around, I'm guesstimating today will be about a half hour. All right. If you stick to the end, I promise you there will be a bonus for you that I think you're going to like. But you got to be here at the end. Okay. Now, again, what you should get out of this 3 practical tips that you can take to work this afternoon, back to the office or virtual or on the road or with your clients, wherever you may be, in regards to improving optimizing your communications. So what I wanted to do, I often do this with the webinars that I lead, but I'm going to ask you a quick question before we get rolling, okay? And here's the question. Have you ever had a conversation, a presentation, or an encounter in business where you thought it was going great, but you received negative feedback? You were surprised by it, and you just couldn't figure out why. Didn't make any sense to you. Well, here's what I'm going to say. Perhaps it's your voice. That's often what happens. Look, we're put in a lot of difficult situations, dealing with clients, dealing with colleagues, dealing with upper management, lower management, responding to inquiries. I'm calling today's session in regards to where we're going to go here as well. I'm calling it managing up, down, and sideways. So any position where you are working, you don't have to be the boss. You don't have to be the big cheese. You don't have to be any of those things, but you're typically speaking up, down, laterally, and hopefully what we'll get to do today is this. Help you improve to effectively engage with your teammates, your staff, your clients, your bosses, senior management across the board. Make it work, right? So, that's right. I promised 3 different solutions. I'm going to get to one right off the bat. I don't like to make people wait. So here you go. You ready? Grab your sandwich you can eat while we're doing this. All right. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to hopefully address every comment along the way. Brad Storm. Yay! Brad Storm is here, folks. Big deal. Oh my God. Punches voice in the face. I got the wrong slogan, Brad. God almighty. I got the punching in the face, but that sounds a little violent. But let's get to the tips so I don't get punched in the face. All right. But thanks for being here, Brad. I am really grateful. What's up indeed? So here's a scenario that I want to share with you. Okay. And as I said, in terms of the managing up, down, and sideways, I'm going to call this tip the who, what, how much tip. Look, we all communicate all day long. And by the way, that's not me pulling the rabbit out of the hat, although I've done it in my life. Often I've pulled out blanks. So hopefully my experience helps me to help you get there a little bit faster. But what do I mean by the who, what, how much? I'm going to plant the seed. Overall, I'm talking about developing specific communications approaches for each stakeholder group. That sounds a little stiff, I know. But what I mean is who you speak to, often determines not just what you say, but how you say it so that the communication is effective and on point. Let me give you an example right off the bat, okay? For me, last company that I worked with, and they were great. I love them to death. Multi-layered, multifaceted broadcast, media, digital streaming, events, what have you. What does that mean? A lot of layers. So I was a manager. I was grateful to say that I managed locally, managed nationally. I reported to managers who then reported to their managers, who then reported to their managers. Sometimes I'd be included in those communications. Sometimes I wasn't. I also had teams and staff, and I'm not calling them lower, meaning less than. I'm simply meaning you've got individuals that are counting and reporting to you. Plus, you've got colleagues in other departments. And all I mean, you realize that everyone interprets information differently. Speaking to the creative department, which, by the way, I'm now in the creative department with Duffin Media. But the fact is, speaking to the creative department is much different than speaking with senior management. Let me give you an example. At this big, behemoth, great company, I had a boss. His first name is Ramon, and I love Ramon to death. I still do. One of my favorite bosses, one of the coolest people. And I can remember he was senior management. He had a ton of responsibilities. His calendar was insane. Every quarter hour had something going on. But depending on the busyness of the day, you had to interpret how much information you provided. Now, because he was my boss, he had to know things. You couldn't keep him in the dark. But I also remember two things. I can remember number one, I would go in and sometimes want to give the full down low and here's this and here's that. And then we did this and then we said that. And I got to tell you, here's what he did. By the way, this is a good clue. Sometimes my boss would literally get up from his chair and walk me to his door and escort me out of the office. And I mean literally. He would literally have me leave. Not quite as bad as the old show Fresh Prince, where DJ Jazzy Jeff was thrown out the door. But he literally would walk me out the door to leave. And that meant time's up, right? So what I caught myself doing when I started to feel that would be talk faster. Okay, well, and then you want to hack? Understand how people receive information, right? The more people that they are accountable and responsible for and to, the less time they typically have to hear blow-by-blow stories. Let's pretend right now I'm speaking with you and your senior management, and you've got another meeting in 6 minutes, okay? So, folks, here's what I want to do. Top line, folks, top line. When you are speaking to senior management, get to it. Have your voice convey the fact that you are confident and on this. If there's a problem, provide a solution. But the way that you speak should sound confident and knowing. You don't have to make things up. You don't have to lie about information. Of course, your content matters, but so does your voice and speaking pattern. So do not go in breathless or frustrated or angry or tense, because they pick up on this and because they've been challenged all day long. Get to it. Speak in bullet points, speak in top line, and mostly speak in terms of solution. What you've tried, what didn't work, what you propose to do next, and say it in a way that's believable, okay? Now, pretend you're speaking to a staff member, somebody who relies on you for information because they're getting so little information. Would you speak to them differently? Well, you would. And I don't mean out of a different level of respect. Everybody is treated equally, obviously. But what I'm going to say is when you are managing someone who is counting on you to provide solution strategy to help them, remember that you're going to show a little more compassion. You may not rattle off those 3 top line bullet points. You may not want to walk them to your door and escort them out as if they're riffraff. Not that I took any of that personally, but the fact of the matter is, but you would spend a few extra minutes not embellishing, but you'd be speaking more compassionately, explaining. Think about when you explain something to someone. Often, if you're explaining properly, you're explaining it not in a condescending way, but you're explaining it as if you realize it's your responsibility to help them. So come from a point of service, from contribution. That would be, and I say managing down, that sounds so rough, but I mean literally, subordinates, they're counting on you. Often you're the pivotal point of communication. So don't rattle off the top bullet points. Try to extend an extra couple of minutes just to make certain that they feel the fact that you are including them. Okay. And then lastly, for colleagues, determine how much information they would like to get, but always try to keep the messages and, more importantly, your tone of voice consistent, friendly, engaging, inclusive. When you do those things, people think, oh, I'm also part of the team. Sometimes we had in our company different departments. I don't know if it's that way for you, but I'm going to say in different departments, sometimes they often weren't included in any of the conversations. So you might hurriedly walk past the promotions department in my company. Oh, yeah. Well, I need this, I need that, I need this. And that sort of condescending tone on your voice, in your voice, they felt that. They didn't feel included. So remember, the easiest way is, first off, it's some degree of compassion, a respect for a person's time, a respect for their authority and schedule, and then understanding what they're looking for and giving it to them. For the top liners, if they want elaboration, I promise you they'll ask you for it. If they like what they hear, they'll often extend the conversation. There were many conversations with my boss, Ramon, where he didn't escort me out the door. And I always love that you got a little bit of extra time. Often it's because you understood how to speak, right? These are tweaks and shifts, folks. This is basic respect for the people that are all around you, because you've got to. Craig Mills, yo. Oh my gosh, one of my greatness buddies. Thank you so much for being here. Look, what I'm going to say is everyone deserves respect. Respect their schedule, respect their authority, respect the fact that people want information, but often don't have the time for you to go through a 20-minute presentation. So there's your first hack of the day. Right now, who, what, how much. Know in advance and plan and act accordingly. Tailor your voice to the person a little bit more top line, confident with superiors, a little more compassionate and empathetic when it's subordinates and colleagues. When you sound inclusive, people know it and people feel it. So just take those along, and then your messages do resonate effectively. Okay? So just tip number 1, right? Just like that. I'm going to throw another tip up here as well, too. I'm calling this in terms of the overall, the leadership abilities to be able to maintain confidence and support with updates, initiatives, new endeavors, changes. Change management is such a big deal. But I got to tell you, I've worked with small television stations. Some of the best experiences of my life were part of a small independent television station in Philadelphia. And I worked for a boss that literally allowed me more control, authority, inclusion than I ever had before. Now, here's the deal. That was my first job in terms of ascending the management ladders, and I can't say I was at my best. I can't back then. I'm telling you right now that if I knew now what I needed to know then, I'd have been so much more effective. But you learn, right? Because I didn't really know. I was kind of thrust into these roles. And again, I had these opportunities in being in charge of programming or helping with the programming and going to conferences and technical stuff. Here's the thing, I became overwhelmingly busy. And so things would happen. Here's an example. Here's something you don't want to do. This actually happened in regards to updates and changes. So years and years and years ago, we moved our location from one physical space to another physical space. And I can remember on the Friday afternoon. Now, I had 3 people that were reporting to me, that were counting on me for updates, these initiatives. We were physically moving. I'm laughing. I can't even imagine. My boss never told anyone but me. It was a Friday afternoon. I remember there's a section in Philadelphia. I'm not sure where you're from, but as I said, if you're watching locally, there's a section in Philadelphia called Manayunk, and we were moving to Manayunk. And I can still remember my boss saying to me about 6:30 p.m. on a Friday evening, I was about ready to go down the shore, right? So my only concerns were I got to beat traffic and get down to the shore. Boss says to me, "Oh, see you Monday in Manayunk." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Oh, we're moving this weekend. We're going to move everything this weekend, and then everyone will be ready." Everyone had gone home. So what does that mean? It means I'm in a complete panic. I've got to reach out to the salespeople. Oh, and I didn't have their phone numbers, and I was having difficulty getting them. So by the time I actually got to the people on the phone, I uh, Monday we're going to be. People were absolutely freaked out. It wasn't that big of a geographical difference, and it wasn't that much of a change in the office space. But what it was disruption and no one telling them properly. And by the time I get to the people, I sound as if somebody just robbed us. Well, we got to be ready and don't worry because everything will be fine. Listen, change can be crazy. Let's just say that never happened again. Thank God. Anytime we actually moved buildings, I made certain that I would alert the people in advance. But what I will say is this: changes, organizational changes, personnel changes, structural changes. This happens all the time. All the time. I was on the line with a colleague today talking about organizational changes that were just dumped on the person. This happens all the time. You know what's important? How do you convey the information? Now, look, what you say is critical. I get that. What I'm reminding you in terms of optimizing your communications is the confidence, demeanor, compassion, expertise is all resonating through your body language and through your voice. So here's a hack. When you are describing change, sometimes change is good. Make certain you understand that it's good for the people that you're speaking to. Here's an example. It doesn't work great. Hey, everybody, great news. I just got promoted. I'm now vice president. That's close to tone deaf because the problem is they weren't just promoted, you were. So you better get to a benefit fast and make certain that the benefit matters to them. There's an expression that we use a lot here at Duffin Media, which is it only matters if it matters to them. But the way that you're conveying that information change. Okay, folks, I'll give you another example. Folks, what we're going to be doing is this. Amen is right, Bob. Brad, thank you for that. When change occurs, Like, for instance, with the group I was with, we were then responsible for selling television and radio, and we had never done that before. So I am going to convey to the salespeople, we're going to take something else on. The way that you say that is really important because you have to understand not everyone thinks your news is as important to them as it is to you. Not to mention, when you're speaking, people have to understand that you're speaking to them. You're not reading a press release. You're not literally like you see these things. Okay, July 17th, 5 p.m. We just wanted to alert you that we will now be selling to. Don't exaggerate your voice. Focus on the individuals and remember that element of compassion, empathy. I understand people don't all love change. Often, Chad Maxon. Yeah, baby. Great to have you here. And thank you for tuning in. Look, people don't all love change. So you've got to have in your voice that amount of empathy. Like, literally, you should sound like you were saying, I get it. You may not love it. I understand it's happening. We're going to be all in this together. That's how you should sound. It's not just the words, it's the tone and the body language. You don't want to come off as authoritarian. You don't want to come off as indifferent or busy. I got to tell you, one of the toughest things that I found when I was in management, and I was for over 25 years, the fact of the matter is you are absolutely inundated with work. Talking to clients, talking to teams, talking to colleagues, all that sort of thing. This is going on nonstop all day, every day. Sometimes what happens is you lose your patience, you lose your common sense by checking off boxes of to-dos. So then somebody comes in and says something like, I just saw the memo. This actually happened. I just saw the memo that our station group was sold. And this is where you've got to be so careful and understanding this is a big deal to somebody. And it's obviously a big deal to you, but you're possibly exasperated by things. So what's the hack? What's the tip? Really focus on the other person. Really focus. And by focus, take a second to understand the change is not always great. New initiatives, new rules, often feel unnerving. Remind people by your body language, by your voice, have that smile that's natural, not fake, that natural sound that we're in it together. And when you do that, I promise you that people will then realize, oh, okay, fine. I can feel like I have a chance to absorb this change. And when you do, they'll often benefit. And the results should manifest, right? Let's go for one more hack, shall we? Tip, shall we? Here's a personal favorite of mine. Feedback and two-way communication. I intentionally chose the photo here of that stiff, formal employee performance evaluation. Look, folks, in every day, your families, if you've got kids, your partners, your spouses, your work colleagues, stakeholders, again, sounds so stiff and forced, but anybody in your organization is typically giving or receiving some sort of feedback, or they want to be. That sort of two-way communication. Look, this is what's so important because we're all people. It sounds so cliche, doesn't it? But the fact of the matter is, people all have feelings and they're not always bringing their A game at every moment. You've got distractions. I talk about that so much when I'm leading my courses. Distractions are deadly. and you can't control them. So the way that people are giving each other feedback in terms of directives or suggestions or responsibilities can really make or break team performance. Okay. I talk about in the specificity here, creating a culture of open communication and feedback, encouraging dialogue, actively listening. What? Actively listening to others and ensuring that the communication is actually a two-way or a group process. If it is a formal evaluation, of course it's one-on-one, it's highly personal and often emotionally charged. But any sort of feedback typically will get to be personal. And you could talk until you're blue in the face with your content saying, well, this is strictly business, or this is a business matter. And the other person is thinking, oh, they don't like me. Oh, they've got it in for me. It's so important. And as we're also distracted and also busy, this is where you lose your humanity. So you want a tip in terms of getting people to do what you want them to do? Well, the feedback is so critical. Obviously, what you say really matters. Explaining. I'll give you one quick example. I remember the first evaluation that I got for a television company. I had just gotten there. I was maybe there about 4 or 5 months, and I had gotten the first evaluation. And I'm grateful to say that I was doing well. Things were going well. Revenue was pouring in. The clients were happy. I'm happy. Everything's great. Blah, 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 blah. All good, right? Except the only problem was I get the evaluation. This is a boss who loved me. And we go out to lunch because that's how they do things often with evaluations. To make it more comfortable, they take you off site. And we're at a restaurant and we're gabbing away and everything's great. And then the evaluation comes out. And I got what I felt was a very marginally average evaluation. And the way it's being delivered to me, and this is what's so important, folks, I know that this person was uncomfortable giving me a very average evaluation because they were racing through it, in essence, to get done. The speed of your communication tells you how much of a vested interest you have in it. So this person is racing to get to the end of it. Why? To get me to sign it. Why? So we can leave and go back to work. I'm like, whoa. I immediately start getting defensive. And my tone starts changing dramatically. So now we're almost in a snit-fit conversation of which that boss says, well, that's just how I feel. And I'm like, yeah, but I think you're wrong. Everything about that was a mess. You want to know how to fix that? Now, I've been in a number of companies where they say the same thing, the magic words. Whoa, there should never be a surprise in an evaluation, of which I say, until there is one. So when there is one, how do you mitigate that? Whether you're the person giving or receiving the feedback, having somebody tell you it's strictly business doesn't help. You're dealing with humans. Talk to them like a human, not like a robot. Literally. And own what you're saying. This is why I feel the way that I do. This is why I came up with this answer. This is how I determined it. This is the way I did. Do you hear the way my voice changes? As opposed to, this is what I was told. Well, you were only here for a few months. They told me I could only give, these numbers. The content's one thing. The tone is something else. Really engage with somebody when you are giving feedback, because I guarantee you they're going to take it personally. There's no choice in the matter. And if somebody's taking it personally and you sound indifferent, tense, standoffish, condescending, what you should do, don't. So again, empathy coming from contribution. How can I best help? And mostly own your words When you own your words, you'll sound that way. You're not sounding bossy, you're sounding honest and authentic. And that's really what this is all about, right? So, the best ways I'm going to say, honest to God, the best ways that you can really take it upon yourself to optimize your communications is remember everything is personal. I don't care what anyone says. Everything is personal. Deal with it like it's personal. Respect who you're speaking to, their job, their time, their status, their experience. New, old, respect it and act accordingly. You probably are not the only person on their dance card. They probably have something else going on out. And here's the last hack that works in every situation. I remember being with these said companies, and your calendar had 0 breaks. That's on you. Absolutely. Give yourself at least a 2-minute window. I'm going to say 5 between any and every human encounter. Give yourself at least 5 minutes between every assignment and a human encounter. What does that do? It allows you to recharge, reboot. I'm saying 5 minutes. I didn't say go get a massage. I literally said 5 minutes because you don't want to bring the last meeting encounter condescending, cranky. You don't want to bring it with you to the next conversation. And so often we do. So you really want to optimize your communications in business. The number one takeaway I'm going to give you today is this, and we've done several. We actually did more than 3, but here's the bonus hack, which is every communication and conversation is a separate entity. They don't all roll into one day. You're not the DJ at the club rolling all the music into one 4-hour version. You are literally realize the person in your current conversation could care less about what occurred in the last conversation, and they could care less about what happened before. Do not bring the baggage. Give yourself a couple of minutes to just get your head right so that understand, and if you need, take a minute or 2 before to realize how much time does this person really have? How much information are they expecting from me? And am I speaking in a way that shows respect for the other person, confidence in myself that will enable us to come to a better business decision? And that's, folks, is how you get to optimize communications. So today, there's my number 1, 2, 3, I guess 4 hacks, right? 4 tips to make things go better. And if you stuck around to the end, here's what I'm offering. I'm going to put a link in right now, and I hope this comes up clearly, folks. What I'm offering is this: a set of steak knives. No, what I'm offering is a free 30-minute call with me where we can discuss specifics with you. We can cover anything you want in regards to your own communications, needs, desires, what's coming up next, how you'd like things to go. And I just put up my Calendly link. And what I'm doing is just click it, pick time, book the time, and oh, love you, Brad. God, that sounded a little mushy, didn't it? And when you click the Calendly link, you book the time with me, and then we get to focus on you. I promise I won't sound condescending or distracted or weird. Yeah, maybe the steak knives would have been a better play. But the fact is, this is what I'm offering: the ability for you to get to optimize your communications. We get to spend a few minutes connecting, and I'm selfish. I love that. So click the link, folks. And lastly, I'm going to tell you this: every day this week, including tomorrow, I will be back. We'll do another session. I'll have a few more tips, a few more strategies. The whole purpose here is optimizing your communications. This 5-day blitz has everything to do with taking the knowledge that I've been lucky enough to secure over the last 25 plus years as a business leader, not to mention all the really cool people. I just alluded to a couple of them that I've encountered and have helped me along the way. I get to share best practices with you. So tomorrow I'll be back, 1 o'clock sharp Eastern time. Come back, tell a friend, just show up and we'll have a little bit more fun. But folks, I wanted to thank you so much for showing up for me today. Hope you had some fun. I hope you got some value out of this as well too. I'm sharpening the steak knives, but click the Calendly link if you'd like it. I'll also make certain that it's in LinkedIn, as we are live on LinkedIn, we are live on YouTube, and we are live on Facebook. I'll make certain that that link is there and you get the opportunity to do that. I thank you all, folks, from the bottom of my heart. I'm really grateful that you showed up for me today. Have a fantastic day. And thank you for telling me this was very helpful. That means the world to me. Folks, I'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day. Be well, all. Bye.